Tune in to today's episode of Two Old Coots Talk. Two Old Coots talk about intermittent problems versus consistent problems, falling off of roofs and falling through ceilings, how growing up poor and in the country brought about resilience in our lives, and many, many other things. Stay tuned today. It'll be a blessing. God bless you. You have a great day.
Hello?
Hey, I know you were wondering, is it live or is it Memorex? It's live from New York, or actually live from the metropolis of Jerome, Idaho on Monday morning. Yay!
Yay!
It's the Monday morning show, and it's turned into one here because we are getting a gully washer of rain. Now, you got to understand, Jerome is high desert, so total annual rainfall is like 9 inches, 8 to 9 inches. This weekend, we're getting at least an inch of rain. So we're getting about a tenth of our annual rainfall in one weekend. It is just a gully wash and flood out here.
Wow, and I guess the ground, because we had just yesterday tornadoes come through the area.
Oh man!
And we had an inch of rain in 1 hour.
Oh mercy! No, we've never had that here. Not that I've ever seen here. Ours is more spread out. When I was a little kid living in Missouri, I lived outside of Iberia for a bit there with Grandpa Kissinger for 1 year, and he said you're going to want to come in. I was out in the field. He goes, you're going to want to come in. It's going to rain. And I thought, well, it's going to rain. And I mean, before I got in, it was I'm telling you, the raindrops were the size of buckets. I mean, I don't know. It was the wettest rainstorm I've ever been in. And you and I used to live in Oregon, where it rains 90 inches a year. That was the wettest rainstorm I was ever in. I mean, somehow back there, that humidity turns into gallon bucket drops.
Yeah.
And out here, it's raining, and it's raining fairly consistently, but it's not like it is there.
Yeah, yeah. That's why they have flash floods out west, isn't it? That the land is not set in such a way that it's used to large amounts. So when it washes down the gullies and stuff, it can be pretty devastating.
And our roofs and stuff, I don't think are really set up for it, because like when I came into school this morning, I had a couple of dead pigeons that didn't make it out of the torrential rain, and so they're out in front of the building, and I'm going around cleaning up everything else in the building, which is multiplied by nasty weather. And a parent had called about it, and I hadn't got to it, and then a parent called again about it, and finally I went out in the pouring rain and took care of the pigeon problem. I don't have better things to do than be a mortician for the pigeons. What you get? You got your calling card. What does it say? Pigeon mortician.
We got to specialize in something.
Bring your loving bird to us. We'll make sure that he has a one-way trip somewhere. He's not a homing pigeon. He's not coming back. I don't know. I got a question for you. Here's a puzzle. Now you're going to get it wrong. I'm going to tell you. Is it better to have a consistent problem or an intermittent problem? Okay, you got to answer me. Which one?
Okay. Better to have it
intermittent.
Intermittent?
No. See, you got that wrong. I knew you would. I knew you would think that was the right answer, because you would get relief from the problem for some time, and then the problem comes back. See, think about it this way. Whenever your car starts making that weird, bizarre noise and it quits doing certain things or starts doing things it's not supposed to do, but it does it intermittently, when will it work? When you know it will work is when you take it to the mechanic to fix the problem, and he turns it on and it turns right on, and it doesn't make the funky noise, and it doesn't do the weird thing, but as soon as you get it back from the mechanic, it is instantly doing the bad problem again. See what I'm saying?
That makes sense.
So you can't get it fixed. Perfect. And if it's a consistent problem, then you can easier troubleshoot it. But if it's intermittent, then you don't know what you're looking for. So I've got a couple of vacuum cleaners that were giving one of my workers problems. Unfortunately, it's an intermittent problem. So when I get the vacuum cleaner to the lady that fixes them, it doesn't act up when she has them. But as soon as I get them back for my worker to use at night, it's off again. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. And the other thing about it is that another reason why we're very consistent is good is that intermittent, you tend to forget about it. And also, I think it almost creates more anxiety to have it intermittent because you're always wondering if when is the next bomb going to kind of drop?
When will the next shoe drop? As the old timers would say. Now, I don't know where that came from. You have any idea when the next shoe will drop? Is that?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard of things, like the Saved by the Bell that has kind of maybe either relates to boxing and you get beat up and so the bell rings, or the older idea that the bells were placed in strings and coffins way back in the 1800s because people went into comas and to make sure that they they could get out if they're really dead, so if they started ringing their bell then they could dig them up really fast, and I don't know if that's even a
right out if you're walking through a graveyard and hear bells ringing, man. Dude, no wonder people whistle past graveyards. They don't hear no bells, It's like,
a place where you don't want to hear any noise.
Yeah, you want it to be dead silent, so to speak, metaphorically. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, but I don't know unless it would have to do with that'd be interesting. Unless it has to do with I remember when I was a kid. You'd be living in a 2-story house when we had of course one where there was just boards and rafters, and no drywall or anything. So you could literally hear you could see what's going on down there through the cracks. So probably stomping on the floor was how you let somebody know you needed them. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what the.
Do you remember when Michael and I both fell through the ceiling? That ceiling in the house you're talking about on the submarine.
Yeah.
Mike fell through. He was sleeping upstairs with us, and we had the plywood kind of in the middle of the attic. But he got up and either sleptwalk or was trying to go to the bath. I don't know what he was doing, but he ended up laying in the kitchen right next to the cast iron wood cook stove. It's amazing he didn't brain himself. And he's looking around like, where am I? We're like, what'd you do? Looking down through the hole and seeing Michael down there. And somehow I got up one night or something, and I stepped wrong, and I ended up standing in my mom's bedroom downstairs.
Yep.
And I'm standing there going, wow, what happened? It was so fast, I really didn't realize what happened. I didn't understand what happened. I just knew that I was standing in my mom's bedroom, and I was supposed to be standing upstairs.
Yeah, kind of like transportation,
I fell off
Star Trek.
I fell off that roof, too, the old house roof. We were up there trying to replace some cedar shingles with Leo, and it was one of these days like today where it was wet, and those cedar shakes are slick when they're wet, man.
Yeah.
And I did it. Fortunately, the ground was very rain-soaked, and so it was really almost like landing on a carpet, like a pile carpet. It knocked the wind out of me, but no broken bones. I mean, God had mercy on us growing up, man. And we stupid stuff and survived hell about it. It was crazy. What are your memories from there? Do you remember any crazy stuff happening down there?
Yeah, one of the things I like about kind of how I got to grow up was that, of course, at the time I didn't really think much about it one way or the other. Is how I grew up, So other people that had new gadgets or whatever, I didn't really think too much about it, but I had a great childhood. I mean, good. We ran through we ran through the woods and looked up at I know there weren't a lot of them at the time, but I mean literally looked up at trees and saw where bears had scratched and walked by dead deer that we were pretty sure were ate by panthers, and I mean at the time that was all cool, but that's even more of a you know, and we grew up a generation older than we were.
Really,
so,
yeah.
you know, we kind of grew up in almost the Depression kind of
early 19th
generation.
For sure.
Right. And so I don't regret that. I think it's almost been a benefit, and I think the biggest benefit isn't kind of, you know, telling your kids the whole, you know, walking to school in the snow, 6 foot of snow both ways, uphill kind of thing. You know, a little bit that, but, you know, they just roll your eyes at that and they don't really care. You know,
right.
You know, whatever, Dad. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Yeah. Okay. By the way, now that you told me that story, take me to school anyway in the car. You know.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. But I think the big advantage is that it is the perspective about life. You know what I'm saying? So I like that broader. I mean, literally living through a couple of generations of time and seeing life now as opposed to literally going all the way back to kind of almost early 1900 living has been a big benefit.
Well, I think so.
I don't know. Just give me a broader perspective.
It takes the terror of living with lack away, because you understood that you know how to live with lack. I mean, we of course had an outhouse. That was our toilet facility was an outhouse, a 2-seater outhouse I might add. And there were times that there was no. We had toilet paper shortages too, but we had catalogs and newspapers, and so we, you know, what I'm saying is that we cooked. Mom cooked on a wood cook stove from 3rd grade till I was in 9th grade when we moved up to Salem, and so for years we ate meals off of a wood cook stove, you know, and there was no bath inside the house. There was no water inside our house. Now, Grandma and Grandpa had water in their house, in the little house, but we didn't in ours. You know. Yeah. So
and again, a good experience. I
loved it.
Actually, regret it.
We played outside. We would go outside in the morning and not come back till it was dark, man. I mean, we had.
Yeah, and people today, we live. There's a place. I used to deer hunt on this property, but they turned it into a winery and a kind of a big. I don't know what you call it. I call it camping for the rich. They took this property and turned it into a place where folks from St. Louis who have lots and lots of money come down, and that's their version of camping. Well, their version of camping is still in this case at least, you know, And so, you know, but literally people now go back to what we lived as kids as a stress relief from the society. You know,
that was our life.
They go back to living. Yeah, that was our life, but they go back and go, I'm going to go do bushcraft in the woods, you know.
Welcome to our world.
Cabin and be out there for a week, you know, and the really hardy folks, you know, they go out and do what we did for,
I skinned a deer for Tony, my son. We used borax and skinned a deer, and, you know, worked on the pelt, and because he wanted it, deer hide, you know, we did it, you know. I don't know if I did it right, but I did it, you know, scraped.
So borax will work as a tanning agent.
Well, apparently it works at getting the meat off of it, getting the soap off of it. So you use borax, and it was some mixture. It was borax and something else I put on it. I can't remember now. Not lye, because lye would eat it. What was that? I cannot remember now. But we did that when he got his first deer, just to do it, you know. And so there's a lot of fun stuff, man. You can do, and I don't know. We had a good childhood. That's all I know.
Oh yeah. No, I loved it. If you don't know what you're missing, then you're not discontent. But then, you know, what are you really missing? I mean, now life has so much information and so much busyness and so much stuff.
Insanity.
That it almost is insane, as opposed to a simpler life is actually
to be lauded. Can you imagine David Thoreau today? I mean, he goes out on Walden Pond because stuff was too crazy in civilization back then. Can you imagine what he would think just in the average person's life today if he were around? He'd run screaming into the woods, man. Like, you know.
Well, yes, and I think the problem with that is that, you know, just counseling with kids and, you know, different folks, that I think that The problem is that we have way too much information. Most of it is unnecessary.
Yes.
It doesn't really relate to our life personally, and therefore we don't do well. We have information overload, which gives us anxiety and gives us
anxiety about stuff we can't do anything about. I mean, the news media will pump these stories and put them every hour on the hour for the whole hour about stuff that I can't do anything about. I mean, I pray about it, which I do. I can vote, which I do. But beyond those things, and maybe I might join a group to share my opinion or something, but mostly I can't do anything about it, and so, but it's pumping it like you need to do something about it, but I can't do anything about it, so it creates a sense of angst and anxiety that's unnecessary.
Oh yes, absolutely. In fact, it's hurting us because we don't have the Simple Life as the old whatever it was show back in the early 2000s or 90s about the two rich girls who went to
Simple Life, Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, I think it was,
that went to live in what was normal life. The Simple Life, which was actually normal life for most of the rest of us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can't stay too much longer. I did want to ask you what kind of a like if you could talk to a large family. One thing we don't talk a lot about because we do kind of more ministry stuff, but we're both from large families. What kind of thing would you tell somebody to make their life easier? Somebody that's got a large family, like for example, me. I'll tell you what mine is. Mine is an Instapot. Because we have to, inevitably during the week, my wife and I both work, and then we have a large family still at home. We still got 5 at home, and then a couple adult kids kind of there. And so inevitably, you get kind of overbooked taking kids to practices, to plays, to concerts, to parent-teacher meetings, to whatever, and then you don't have time to cook. And then, if I take my family out to eat, it's going to cost me $100. I ain't got $100 to take out. So I've got to find a way to prepare some food in advance for that to take place. And this Instapot is awesome, man, because you can prepare a large meal in it and have it ready to go. Punch it. And it'll make it it'll do it in 30 minutes. It'll cook a meal that you would take 6 hours in a crock pot. It'll do it in 30 minutes.
What? Wow! What is that a combination of a pressure cooker and
it's a pressure cooker
crock pot kind of thing?
Yes, and it turns out amazing food because it cooks it under high pressure. So the flavor saturates the food.
That is too cool.
Oh, buddy, it's awesome. I'm telling you. I love the Instapot. Every week my wife makes roast and stuff for Sunday dinner, roast and vegetables and gravy and potatoes, and I will take the leftovers from that and cut it up and turn it into a beef stew that I'll eat either, Monday night or something, or maybe Tuesday night. Sometimes I'll let it simmer and I'll eat it on a Tuesday night. But I'm telling you, dude, you instantly have a meal ready to go. Right now I got beans in it that I put on yesterday. I got beans and ham in it, and that's ready to go. So if we get too busy tonight or tomorrow night, I can plop the beans out, and they're ready to go. It's awesome.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow. I heard about them, but I've never had anybody explain them to me, so.
I'm telling you, with a large group of people, Instapot's the way to go. But I think it's even really good for a lot of meals that require, like if you need the meat to be saturated with flavor, pressure cooking it does it, man.
Oh, wow.
Once you put the seasonings on it and then you cook it, it really sinks into that meat. And so,
that is neat. I like that.
And a lot of times they come out pretty, pretty tender, real tender meat.
Now, is the size of the pot about the size of a regular crock pot, or is it a little bit smaller?
Yeah, it's same size. You can get them. You can get 5 quarts. Mine's a 5-quart one. It's a bigger one.
Wow.
I love it, man. I'm telling you, it's awesome. It saved me. I don't know how much money it saved me because I have a meal, and even when we buy pizza, we'll buy 5-6 pizzas to feed us.
Yes.
And So, even a quote-unquote cheap meal, or when I get chicken, I'm getting a 20-piece chicken. They don't even have a sign that has the number of chicken parts that I want on it. Yeah. So I come in the biggest is a 16-piece chicken. I go, I want a 20-piece. I'm like, well, I can't sell you that. Okay, give me 2 10-pieces. Whatever works for you. I don't care. 2 10s or a 20. Whatever.
You got to figure out a way to add this up to 20, guys. Just let me know how you do that.
I don't care. Whatever you
know the machine is not set up for that, but you got to figure it out.
I like a 16-piece and a 4-piece. Okay, that's what I'd like.
And then you're doing a coupon, so you drive around and get the 5, and then drive back around again, then you get the 4. There you go.
We're all about
I just saw you.
And we're all about Costco too. We call Costco the $500 store because we go in anytime we go in, it will be $500 for us to get out of there.
Wow, yeah.
And sometimes we'll have 2 carts of stuff. People are looking at us like, what are you guys run a restaurant? Like, shut up. Leave me alone. Just being a jerk, so.
I don't know, of course, in mine would be older, I guess. I guess it would have been, of course, the family was a lot together back then. Yeah. So you wouldn't need like cell phones, which are handy, which are both blessings and kind of curses.
Yeah, I know.
I would say, so I'm kind of looking back, and we were kind of old school, first generation sort of homeschoolers,
right.
Or I would maybe say second generation homeschoolers when we did it, because first generations were back in the 70s, and they literally had to hide and literally, now it's become a pretty popular, accepted, even if people don't agree, kind of a way of educating. But so I would say we were kind of second generation homeschoolers,
right?
And really pioneers. There wasn't a lot of stuff out there. You were buying school books from garage sales kind of things.
Sure.
But so I don't know. I would have to say that we did use a lot of those things, like we did use canners. We used the crock pot was a big one.
Oh yeah,
was a big one. So kind of the older version of that, because again, you can prepare large meals and do
advance.
It. Right. And I'll tell you that the kids look back on things like they have skills. So it's interesting that you can, like my wife did a lot of things with natural for health, so garlic and honey herb, or Ignatia, or a lot of holistic natural stuff. And the kids at the time probably didn't either think much about it or didn't even like it, but then I listen to them talk now, and they'll use those very things now so it does catch,
Sure.
And I'm sure that was the same with our mom, whatever she did, we didn't think, very much about it at the time, or kind of, whatever, but then it becomes such a part of you that you just do it,
Right.
So
right.
for parents out there, you may not feel like your kids are getting it. At least some of them will get it, because they will, just kind of come back around again later, whether it's...
That's my theory about the kids. I think that it takes them time to come around to their raising. I think that initially when they get out on their own, I think they're desperate to try their own thing their own way. And then when they realize how hard everything is, then you start looking, all of a sudden, you don't really care much about whose way it is. You just want it to work.
Right.
And so I think with a lot of my kids, I'm seeing them kind of come back around to that. But it took them a cycle, and the cycle was that they would go their own direction at first, very aggressively their own direction at first. And that's probably part of them establishing their own identity or whatever. And I'm not saying that they will come around to agree with everything that I said, because I don't know that I want them to. I don't even know that I agree with everything I said, But I hope that they will come around to, a rich relationship with Jesus, a vibrant faith, persistent perseverance, kind of a thing, even when things get hard. It's basic things that I hope that they get. And I think they're going to get there. I think I can already see the trajectory heading there with some of them. So I'm encouraged by that. And I just you just take them in prayer for the rest, you know. So, go ahead.
And I think you got to be careful, because I think that, you know, we lived in the country, we homeschooled, we had a large family, we did our thing as parents, you know, whatever we thought we were supposed to do. And man, a lot of that I would go back and do. You know, anybody who probably is really truly kind of seeking the Lord and is sane would probably go back and change things in their life.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about the whole idea that you'd live exactly the same life doing exactly the same thing. If you're one of those people that's lucky enough that you feel like you did everything you're supposed to do perfectly right and whatever, okay, that's fine.
Not me.
That's not me.
No,
so.
I have told my adult children, I said, man, I just got to tell you, I sure didn't get it all right. I said I was doing the best that I knew to do at the time. You know, I said what I can assure you is that I gave you my best. I mean, it wasn't, you know, it may not have been, you know, everything you needed, but I was giving you the best I had at that time, the best I knew. You know, but going back, I would do it different. I'd do a lot of stuff different. You know.
And,
you know.
But I think the thing for the future as a parent is that one of the things that you kind of have to come into grips with is that probably some parents want kids to kind of follow their path, but what you were mentioning there were kind of the fundamentals. So
right.
I understand now that I don't care if most of my kids probably won't have a large family. I don't blame them.
Right? Yeah, I know.
Some of my kids may not homeschool, or maybe they all may not homeschool, although the way the world is going with some of the crazy humanistic stuff, I think there's, all of that has to be handled. Whatever you do has got issues or problems or whatever. There's problems with homeschooling. I don't, so, but you can, some of the kids would never think of living in the country, even though I will eventually move. I'm in the city now, but eventually I'll move back to the country.
Right.
I'm just a country guy. I like the country life.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. So, you can kind of want them to do what you did, when in reality we probably should want them to get the fundamentals you're talking about. That's
right. Just as long as they get the fundamentals, I don't care where the trajectory of their life takes them, as long as they get the basics, and I just want them to know I did my best. I did the very best that I knew to do at the time, and what they need to understand is that's all they can do too, because they're going to raise kids in far more challenging times than we did, So you just do the best you know to do, and you give that to God, and that's then God finishes them. God is the finishing school. And life is the finishing school. Our job is just kind of the kindergarten, get them ready for the program, and then life is the lesson. They say that in school you study the lesson and take the test. In life, you take the test and learn the lesson. And that's there's a lot to that. And so we just kind of prep them for the school of life, and when they get into the school of life, that's when the real learning takes place.
Right.
But hey, buddy, I'm gonna have to take off. I love you, bud. Sure, good to talk to you, and we'll yak at you later, okay?
Well, you have a great week, and we'll visit. And I'll tell you in the future sometime about my what I learned about mentoring from a class I took that actually prepares. I'm being certified to help to supervise substance abuse counselors. So
okay,
very interesting class. We'll talk about
that maybe on Friday. You think, or ish?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. That's what. Interesting stuff. So
okay.
All right. You take care, brother.
All right, buddy.
You hang in there. We'll talk later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.